So this is my Trading 212 Stocks ISA. I've actually had this account since April of 2023, so it's been just over 2 years now since I had this Stocks and Shares ISA with Trading 212. And since then, of course, my portfolio has grown. Currently, it is worth over £118,000. Now, I've actually not shared this before, but I'm going to be talking about what I intend to do with my Trading 212 Stocks and Shares ISA, how I got to this position, and the kind of things that maybe I did wrong or right in getting here. So since starting this account, you can see that my first deposit was on the 6th of April 2023, and that is when I deposited £4,182 from my bank. I also did a transfer for my Trading 212 Invest account. I started with the Invest account first, and then I decided to go with the Trading 212 ISA. I was with someone else prior to that. And as you can see, on the 12th of April 2023, I added £13,946.09 just to max out my limit for the year, and I was really happy with that. Now, as you can see, on the 6th of April 2024, I added £20,000, which was a transfer from my Trading 212 Invest account. You can also see on the 30th of September 2024, there was a deposit of £59,628.32. This was actually an ISA transfer from my InvestEngine account. And in total, in that account, I deposited £40,000. So in total, in terms of deposits from my bank account in my Trading 212 Stocks ISA, it's been £80,000. So 4 years of maxing out my Stocks and Shares ISA. You can also see that this year I decided not to go and deposit any further into my Trading 212 Stocks ISA. I decided to try out a few different platforms instead. If you want to get started with Trading 212, you can get a free fractional share worth up to £100. All you have to do is to click the link in the description box down below. Alternatively, if you've already signed up to Trading 212 in the past 10 days but haven't received your free fractional share, all you have to do is to press the 3 horizontal line menu over here. Scroll all the way down until you see the section Use Promo Code. And in this section, just enter my code JUBAIR and you should receive a free fractional share. So far with £80,000 deposited in my Trading 212 Stocks ISA, if you want to work out how much profit I've made, you can easily just subtract 118,000 to 80,000. You'll get around £38,000. Now, a lot of you are tempted to work backwards and say, is that only £38,000 over 4 or 5 years? And the math just doesn't work like that. I'm going to go through the math because I've received more than 10% every year compounded since I've started. And that has always been the main goal with my Trading 212 Stocks ISA, is that I get every single year 10% added onto the amount that I have. And since starting my first ISA deposit in my old provider in 2021, I've been getting 10%, and that has always been my aim. Like I said, I no longer deposit into this Trading 212 Stocks ISA. This is because I can separate this in my head as my early retirement pot. Anything else in my other ISAs can be more shorter term goals. For example, saving up for a housing deposit. This is going to be my early retirement pot, so I'm not going to withdraw any cash from this pot until I have a substantial amount. I'm aiming for around £1 million. Let's hope I can get there. Now, we're going to use a very simple calculator to do the math because 10% compounded isn't really simple math that you can just do in your head. So as you can see, in the first year that I started, I added £20,000. And if I were to get 10% by the end of that year, I would times it by 1.1. So at the end of year 1, I should have £22,000. So at the beginning of year 2, I should add another £20,000. That will give me £42,000 at the start of year 2. Now, if we get 10% on that, at the end of year 2, I should have £46,200. And again, at the start of year 3, I should have £66,200. At the end of year 3, I should have £72,820. At the beginning of year 4, I should have £92,820. Now, at the end of year 4 of maxing out my ISA, I should have £102,102. Now, like I showed you, I deposited only £80,000, so 4 lots of £20,000, and I stopped depositing. So that means at the end of this year, which is year 5, I should have £112,312.20 in order to have 10% compounded every single year. Now, as you can see, I clearly have a bit more than that. However, you can always use the argument that if a stock market crash happened, then I could easily be put down many notches. If I scroll down right now, you can see that my biggest holding right now is in cash. I have over £117,489 in cash. This means that even if a stock market crash was to happen, I would still have that much in cash. And although I don't recommend this to anyone and long-term investing will probably always be out what I'm doing, this has since 2021 been my sort of strategy in order to get 10% per year. And essentially that is swing trading, and not something I will recommend on this channel, because we know from tons and tons of research that time in the market is almost always going to probably beat out trying to time the market. Now, if I go into my history on my trading 2-on-2 stocks ISA, you can see that currently I have a realized profit of over £14,000. Now, this has been my strategy of, moving in and out of the market. I've also received some dividends here, as you can see. I don't really look at dividends as a focus when I'm investing, to be honest. But anyway, you can see a realized profit of £14,000 is not too bad. In addition, remember I told you that I transferred my ISA. Well, that had a profit of around £20,000. So if you subtract £80,000 from this, you can see that I've had around £38,000 in profit. Now, if I can continue to get 10% every year, this also means that I can't afford to have negative years in my plan, because unlike long-term investing, negative years don't really make much of a difference over the long term. But if I am dependent on 10% every year, even if the stock market is down, then I have to really go with the plan, and that is one of the downsides. Now, with trading 2-on-2, one of the upsides in keeping cash is that you do earn interest daily at the moment on uninvested cash. Before I talk more about it, please bear in mind that most of this cash is put into qualifying money market funds, so there is an element of risk, as money market funds or qualifying money market funds are a form of investment. So currently I'm getting 4.35% as an annual equivalent rate on this uninvested cash, which is really helping me. You can see all time I've received more than £2,000, and that just helps me going when I'm in cash. Now, personally, I do not like being in cash because I think that time out of the market can be really detrimental, because usually some of the best days of the market happen really quickly, and to be out of that is really silly. But like I said, this is personally what keeps me going. I like to realize profit, even though I know that I probably would have had a whole lot more by actually staying invested. Now, I'm actually curious as to what I could achieve in 20 years if I were to get 10% in my trading 2-on-2 stocks ISA without any further deposits. So as you can see, starting with £118,000, no further deposits, getting 10% annually, let's see what I could potentially have. So as you can see, in 20 years, if things continue to go right for me, which, they could easily not, I could have over £864,000. And remember, this is with no further deposits. I completely plan to continue to deposit and max out my ISA limit just elsewhere. So those will grow in tandem, and those will be long-term investments, while this stocks and shares ISA remains one that is more of a fun portfolio. And that really, in my opinion, is the beauty of having your first £100,000. It's so much easier to compound on £100,000 once you reach it, because even if you fail to make further deposits, 10% of £100,000 is £10,000, and getting that per year compounded can really grow your portfolio without any further additional help. So make sure to check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you in the next video.